you pit 4 really different records against each other on repeat, well, any weaknesses, any structural problems, or lack of consistency, they just become glaringly obvious, impossible to ignore.
Okay, so today we're diving into the source material for Round 1, Group 192, and this one got a title, Pop Eats Pop, which is already intriguing.
It really is. And the Contenders. Wow. A real clash of styles.
Totally. We had U2 with their huge, ambitious late 90s record Pop.
Yeah.
Very experimental for them.
A definite departure.
Then Katy Perry's debut, One of the Boys. Huge pop arrival.
Mm-hmm.
Then, switching gears completely, Adema's self-titled debut. Straight up new metal.
Right, from that early 2000s wave.
And the fourth one, crucially, The Sound of Girls Aloud. Now that's a greatest hits compilation.
And that's where things get really interesting, isn't it? Because on paper, you might expect, well, a rock victory, perhaps.
You'd think. Maybe U2 advancing easily, maybe Perry pulling an upset, but the actual results, they were frankly astonishing.
Completely. They force you to rethink what quality even means in this kind of head-to-head format.
Absolutely. The usual rock hierarchy just got, well, demolished. The final rankings saw the 2 pop acts go through.
Leaving the rock giants behind.
Exactly. So first place, Girls Aloud, the greatest hits. Second place, Katy Perry's One of the Boys.
And then?
Third was U2 with Pop. And trailing in last place, Adema.
Wow.
So our mission today is to figure out how this happened. How did the polish, the consistency of commercial pop, just overwhelm rock ambition and new metal energy in this specific showdown?
Yeah, what was it about those pop records that held up under scrutiny while the rock contenders faltered? Let's dig in.
Right. We have to start at the bottom, I think. Adema in 4th place. The critique against them seems like the clearest example of what failure looks like in this album quest.
It does set a baseline, yeah. What was the core issue, the sort of unforgivable sin, according to the source?
Well, it boils down to a lack of creative identity and these underdeveloped arrangements. Basically, originality.
Okay. The source material mentions the album is raw. Right?
Yes, but clarifies it's not that sort of cool, gritty garage band rawness.
Right, not intentional rawness.
Exactly. The reviewer meant raw because the arrangements felt underdeveloped. Described them as having hard lines or even visually too much black and white.
Too much black and white. Okay, let's unpack that. What does that mean musically? Is it about the mix, the production?
Not necessarily the production itself, no. The mixing was actually called fairly sound.
Okay.
That black and white thing seems to point more towards dynamics, or the lack thereof.
Dynamic range.
Yeah.
Which is crucial, especially in heavier music like nu metal. You need that tension, right?
Totally. The quiet parts making the loud parts hit harder, or different textures coming in and out.
But Adema, it seems, was maybe just all one level. Structurally monotonous.
That's the impression. The reviewer felt they maintained this constant, kind of one-dimensional sonic intensity.
Which might grab you for a minute on first listen.
Sure.
But if you're listening on repeat, alongside albums that do have that light and shade, it just gets tiring, fatiguing.
Yeah, the source says the band seemed to be struggling to create beyond the safe boundaries of thrashy rock, just leaning on the genre tropes without adding their own flavor.
Right. No unique signature. Which leads straight into that comparison problem mentioned in the critique.
Oh, yeah, this was harsh. What was it again?
Well, it mentioned a couple of tracks, Freaking Out and The Way You Like It, as being mildly interesting interludes.
Okay, so some moments.
Some moments, yeah. But they were seen as just lost in this sea of samey hard rock and the killer line.
Uh-oh.
The judgment that their songs could have been rejected by Linkin Park, Papa Roach, Stand, and the like.
Oof, yeah, that hurts. I mean, those bands defined that sound at the time. To be called their leftovers.
It's pretty much the definition of failing the originality test in this context. You know, in this World Cup style thing, having something unique is vital.
Because you're directly compared.
Exactly. When you're up against, say, U2, known for pushing sounds, or Girls Aloud, known for perfect pop execution, just being samey is a death sentence. Adema didn't have that unique hook to survive the repeated listens.
Okay, so that's the baseline. Lack of originality, lack of dynamic structure. That gets you eliminated first. Now, U2, 3rd place. A massive band, legends. But they didn't make the cut either. And interestingly, it seems they failed for almost the opposite reason to Adema.
How so?
Well, Adema lacked originality. U2, with Pop, were maybe trying too hard to be inventive, risking everything on this new electronic sound.
And that risk ultimately didn't pay off against the pop albums.
Yeah, I see that. It's the paradox of pop, isn't it?
Explain that.
Well, it came out in '97, and the source notes this was a time when traditional rock music was struggling to penetrate the airwaves. Things were shifting.
Right. Grunge had faded, Britpop was maybe past its peak, pop and electronic music were surging.
Exactly. So U2, always trying to stay relevant, always innovators, they deliberately chose to morph their sound with electronica. And the results were interesting, weren't they? That blend of their stadium sound with, like, dance rhythms.
Yeah. Genuinely interesting. The critique specifically mentions the backing track of Mofo.
Oh, yeah.
Sounding like Prodigy, which for U2 in the 90s is a massive leap.
That's radical, especially for a band rooted in the 80s rock sound.
And it really showcases the edge, doesn't it? He's praised as one of rock's finest guitarists.
Undeniably.
But his whole style is described as anti-axe hero.
What does that mean exactly, anti-axe hero?
It means he's not about the flashy solos, the super fast licks, you know. He's focused on sonics, on the sound of the guitar.
Texture and atmosphere.
Texture, atmosphere, and rhythm. Think about those iconic U2 sounds, the delay on Where the Streets Have No Name, the rhythmic pulse of Bullet the Blue Sky.
Yeah, it's not about melody lines. It's about creating a whole rhythmic bed.
Precisely. He invents these rhythm-led sounds that drive the whole song. Even simple chords feel huge and unique because of how he treats them sonically. And that ambition was recognized on pop. The source said, many melodies sparkle and immerse the listener.
Staring at the Sun was mentioned, wasn't it?
Yeah, described as sounding like it has existed in eternity. That kind of timeless quality U2 can sometimes hit.
So, high ambition, technical brilliance from the edge, moments of real magic. But still, third place. If it had these amazing peaks, what pulled the average score down so much?
Inconsistency. And maybe some tonal whiplash. The experimentation just didn't hold up across the entire album.
Ah, the classic album problem, filler tracks. Or just jarring shifts.
Both, it seems. When you're listening repeatedly, those shifts become really noticeable. You might go from something intense and electronic, like Mofo, straight into tracks that are much lower energy or maybe just thematically heavy. And that pacing becomes an issue.
Were there specific tracks called out for dragging it down?
Yes, definitely. The review pointed to what it called the sloshy religious ballad, If God Will Send His Angels, deemed uninspired, apparently.
Okay.
And another track, If You Wear That Velvet Dress, was criticized because it just struggles to get going, no momentum.
So, energy slumps.
Big time. And even Miami, which apparently does pick up, was noted for dragging through its first half before it wakes up. These things kill an album's flow on repeat listens.
Okay, fair enough on inconsistency.
Yeah.
But I want to push back on something else the reviewer mentioned, the overuse of religious context.
Ah, yes, that was a point of criticism.
I mean, that's U2, isn't it?
Right.
Their music has always been steeped in spiritual themes, religious imagery, often from Bono's background. Can you really dock points for them being themselves?
That's a really valid point. And it gets to the heart of this album quest methodology, I think.
How so?
Because while, yes, those themes are core to U2's identity, the critique here wasn't just that the themes existed, it was that they became, quote, tiresome.
Tiresome.
When you listen to an album again and again and again, elements that might seem profound or moving the first time can start to feel heavy, maybe preachy, maybe just distracting by the 10th listen.
Right. Familiarity breeding contempt, or at least fatigue.
Exactly. And on pop, the judgment was that this religious context started to overshadow the music itself on too many tracks. It made the listening experience feel perhaps labored rather than uplifting or energetic.
So it's the combination. The inconsistent pacing plus the thematic density just made it less enjoyable to listen to repeatedly compared to the others.
That seems to be the crux of it. Despite those moments of sheer brilliance and ambition, the overall package of pop was judged as a less satisfying repeated listen than the two pop albums that beat it.
Okay, that makes sense in the context of the Quest rules. Inconsistency and thematic fatigue doomed the rock giant. Which brings us to the winners, the pop contenders. And this is where we see the power of, pop craftsmanship really shining through. Second place, advancing to round two. Katy Perry's One of the Boys.
Right. And the reviewer acknowledges the whole image thing, you know, the colorful, cheeky pop princess package.
Sure, I Kissed a Girl era.
Exactly. But it makes it clear the ranking is purely about the music itself.
So what musical qualities propelled this debut album past U2's experimental epic?
Well, first off, just the fundamental quality of the record. It was judged as thoroughly well-produced, really solid.
Okay.
And stylistically, it knew what it was doing. It leaned into pop rock, and the source even says it occasionally rivaled the style laid down by Avril Lavigne several years before.
So it had a strong, clear, well-executed sound for its time.
Absolutely. A solid framework. But the real kicker, the thing that seemed to elevate it, was an observation about her vocal technique.
Oh, interesting. Beyond just having a good voice.
Way beyond that. It's about how she uses her voice. The critique focused on her use of inflection, but not just in the standard way of following the melody. It's how her vocal line plays against the rhythm sometimes.
Okay, break that down. What does that sound like?
The comparison made was to Alanis Morissette, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay, I can kind of hear that now. That sort of jagged phrasing she had.
Exactly. Katy Perry apparently does this thing where she sometimes pauses mid-sentence to fit into the melody, or does the opposite. She concatenates whole words across multiple lines.
Concatenates, meaning like she rushes words together or stretches them out strangely.
Yeah, speeding up, slowing down, squashing words together or pulling them apart. Basically bending the rhythm of the lyrics to fit the story or the emotion, rather than just rigidly sticking to the beat.
Like in I Kissed a Girl. The way she delivers those key lines feels a bit off-kilter, but in a catchy way.
That's a perfect example. It makes the delivery feel more dynamic, maybe more conversational or spontaneous, even though it's obviously crafted. It's not just metronomic pop singing.
So it gives it personality.
Yeah.
That's actually a really sophisticated technique for a debut pop album.
It really is. The source mentions Thinking of You and I Kissed a Girl as examples. It shows a level of conscious craft in the performance that lifts the songs. It keeps your ear engaged, even if you've heard it multiple times.
So technical skill in the vocals. What else? Lyrics.
Lyrics were also praised, yeah. Noted for being smart, avoiding really basic pop cliches. The example given was how she spins the fable of Pinocchio into a song about a partner's emotional immaturity.
Ah, okay, that's clever.
Right. So you've got this combination: strong production, a clear style, really interesting vocal technique, and clever lyrics. And the final verdict.
What was it?
It was judged to be slightly more fun to listen to than pop.
Fun. So at the end of the day, enjoyability won out.
It seems like it. That fun factor, combined with the technical polish and consistency, gave One of the Boys the edge over U2's more ambitious but ultimately flawed record. Enjoyment and solid structure beat out inconsistent experimentation.
Which leads us to number one. The winner of Group 192, Advancing Confidently, The Sound of Girls Aloud, compilation album.
Yes, the moment manufactured pop officially took the crown in this group.
Now, I have to ask the obvious question again, maybe more forcefully this time. Is this fair? We're talking about the album quest, searching for the best album. How can a greatest hits collection, cherry-picking the best songs over years, compete fairly against a studio album, which is meant to be a snapshot, a single artistic statement, warts and all?
Look, that is the critical question here. And the reviewer explicitly mentions wrestling with this. They talk about the pain of applauding anything from the smug pop factory mogul Simon Cowell.
Right, the manufactured element.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they landed on this idea that sometimes you just have to grudgingly accept music at face value.
Meaning, ignore the backstory, ignore how it was made, and just judge the sounds coming out of the speaker.
Pretty much. Dismiss the corporate origin, dismiss the fact it's a compilation, and ask, is this collection of songs, as presented here, a high-quality listening experience?
And the answer in this case was a resounding yes.
Overwhelmingly so, it seems. Once that mental hurdle was cleared, the focus shifted entirely to the makers of the music, not the singers, but the songwriting and production team.
Xenomania, right. Miranda Cooper and Brian Higgins.
That's them. Relatively anonymous to the public, maybe, but absolute powerhouses behind the scenes. Their work was just lauded as fresh, upbeat, and inventive pop. This wasn't just a random collection of hits. It was seen as a showcase of elite pop engineering.
Pop engineering. I like that term. What does that mean in practice? What were they doing that made these songs so effective and presumably consistent?
Xenomania had this signature style. They were known for mashing different genres and sounds together, often within the same song. Unexpected tempo changes, layered vocals, really high-energy beats, constantly shifting things up.
So the absolute opposite of Adema's black and white sound.
Totally. Xenomania tracks are complex, they're colorful, they're always moving. They deliberately avoided the kind of structural monotony that hurt both Adema and, to some extent, U2 in this comparison.
Which means as a listening experience on repeat.
It's guaranteed pop goodness, as the source puts it. There's no filler, no slump. Every track is designed to be a peak.
And that brings us back to Miranda Cooper's insane track record.
That statistic is just mind-blowing, isn't it? 4 UK number ones. Songs spending more years combined on the UK charts than any other female songwriter in history.
That's not luck. That's sustained high-level craft.
Exactly. So when you put together No Good Advice, Life Got Cold, something kind of, you're getting an excellent compilation of sheer pop goodness. It's a flawless execution from start to finish.
So in this specific back-to-back listening test, where consistency is king,
A zero-filler, high-energy compilation just has a massive, almost unbeatable advantage over a studio album that inevitably has its ups and downs.
right, okay, let's synthesize this then. Let's recap the final rankings for Group 192, Pop Eats Pop, and figure out what this tells us about the judging criteria being used, maybe implicitly, in this album quest.
Okay, so the final order again. First, The Sound of Girls Aloud, the peak of consistent pop engineering.
Second, One of the Boys, Katy Perry's strong, fun, technically clever debut.
Third, U2's Pop, brought down by inconsistency, those energy slumps, and maybe thematic fatigue.
And fourth, Adema, eliminated for lacking originality and that samey sound.
Yep.
So the big takeaway seems to be creative risk, raw energy, things we often praise in rock. They lost out here. They lost to polish, consistency, and just sheer repeatable enjoyment factor.
That sums it up perfectly, I think. The criteria that floated to the top in this group were execution and enjoyability. Ambitious experimentation, like U2's, it can lead to incredible highs, sure.
But also deep lows.
Exactly, and pop apparently had enough of those lows, those tedious valors, that when forced to listen repeatedly, they became unbearable. The listener just couldn't tolerate the inconsistent journey.
Whereas Girls Aloud offered guaranteed pleasure, a sugar rush from start to finish.
Pretty much. A guaranteed high-energy, engaging listen all the way through. And Katy Perry delivered something similar, highly refined, technically impressive pop that was just fundamentally more fun and less demanding than U2's challenging, sometimes slow journey.
And that technical aspect we discussed with Katy Perry is key too, isn't it?
Absolutely. Her vocal technique, that clever phrasing, it added a layer of interest and dynamism that kept it fresh. That structural soundness achieved through performance was valued more highly in this context than, say, the Edge's guitar genius.
Which, while brilliant, sometimes got lost in pop's slower moments or heavier themes.
Exactly. The overall package, the consistency of the listening experience, trumped individual moments of genius buried within a less consistent whole.
So this album quest, at least in this group, seems to confirm that best isn't always about legacy or complexity or even raw talent. When you force these back-to-back comparisons, best often becomes about flawless execution, sustained enjoyment, and rigorously avoiding anything that causes listener fatigue.
The albums that won were the ones that were airtight. No filler, no structural weaknesses, no moments where your attention drifts or you feel preached at.
It's a tough system. Rewarding, maybe, but definitely tough.
It is. It's not just about impressing you once. It's about holding you captive, keeping you entertained through that repeated exposure. And yeah, that naturally favors meticulously crafted pop, whether it's a brilliant debut or a perfectly curated compilation, over ambitious but flawed experiments.
Pop had the ambition, lacked the consistency. Adema had energy, lacked originality. The pop albums had, well, everything needed to win this particular battle.
Polish inconsistency carried the day.
A really fascinating outcome from Group 192. It shows that sometimes, manufactured quality, if the craft is high enough, can just comprehensively beat rock ambition. Pure, unadulterated polish and the ability to just keep the listener hooked won out.
Which leaves us with that final lingering question for you, the listener, to chew on, especially after seeing how Group 192 played out in this album quest. We have to come back to that fairness issue, don't we? Given this whole methodology, the repeated back-to-back listening, does a greatest hits compilation just have an inherently unfair advantage?
Right. Is even comparing like with like.
Exactly. Is a compilation, by its very nature of only including the peaks, always going to trounce a regular studio album, regardless of how brilliant parts of that studio album might be? Or is the ultimate definition of the best album simply the one that provides the most consistently excellent, enjoyable listening experience from start to finish, no matter how it was assembled?
Does the album need to be a single artistic statement from one point in time, or can the best album actually be a collection perfected over years?
That's the critical question, isn't it? What are we really looking for in this quest? That's something to think about after seeing Pop Eats Pop.